Hello everybody, Aaron the Nintintrovert here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are playing Rayman Legends, which is one of my favorite games of all time. This is a top 10 video game for me. I would put it, I would say it's my favorite 2D platformer ever made. So as far as 2D side-scrolling games, I adore this one. Rayman Legends is, in my opinion, as good as it gets. And I've played a lot of 2D platformers. And so this one takes the cake ahead. I'm going to talk during this opening cutscene because the story in this game is like, I don't even really know what to make of it. The story is not an important part of this game. Something, they were sleeping and then they had to get woke up because nightmares were doing something and then like something. So I don't even know. I've played this game several times and I have no idea what the plot of this game is, but it's a fantastic 2D platformer. I personally would say it's even better than you know, any of the Donkey Kong Country games, which are often held as the pinnacle of 2D platforming. I would say that it's better than the 2D Mario games like Mario Brothers 3 and Mario World. I adore this game. And at the time of this recording, this is the most recent Rayman game, and it came out back in 2013. So, you know, this is, it's been 11 years, which is kind of crazy, and they've not had a new Rayman game. So Rayman fans have been starving. He didn't get into Smash Brothers. You know, it's been a hard time for Rayman fans to cope. But you know, there seems to be some positive signs. There's something brewing. You know, there was recently, I guess it was probably maybe a couple years ago at this point, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Very fitting name because it kind of gave Rayman fans a spark of hope, if you will. It had a Rayman DLC expansion, so even though it wasn't a fully original new Rayman game, it was a new Rayman experience, kind of a new Rayman adventure. So that was really, really cool to see. And Davide Soliani, I believe is the guy's name, who made the Mario and Rabbids games. Seems like a really, really nice guy. He infamously cried. Oh shoot, I messed that up. Whatever, it's okay. But he infamously cried whenever, like at E3, whenever Miyamoto came on stage and like shouted him out, because like he was just so inspired by Miyamoto's games growing up and everything, and like everybody just kind of like fell in love with him after that. Because they just thought that was so sweet, and just the humility that he would, and the passion behind the project for him to cry like that. Just tears of joy to be working with the Mario IP. But yeah, Davide Soliani, he put like a little, you know, he could have done a little bit better crowd control, is that the term? Setting expectations, because he was like, you know, if you're a Rayman fan, we've got a, you know, a special little, you know, after the end credits, a special little thing for y'all about the future of Rayman, and it was kind of nothing. It was just kind of like a weird kind of message about just like, you know, don't stop believing. So it wasn't like really even a tease at a new Rayman game. It was just kind of a, you know, if ever given the opportunity, hopefully Ubisoft will make one. But he really was passionate about wanting to see the Rayman franchise come back. But I guess he's not going to be involved with any future Rayman endeavors, because he has fairly recently left the company, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, good for him if he's wanting to go out and do his own thing. I don't know. It seems like maybe, I don't know if he was joining a company or if he was like starting his own like independent company. I think he might be starting his own independent company, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, it's kind of a shame because I feel like the Rayman franchise would have been in really good hands under him, but evidently now that's not going to be happening. But it does seem like, you know, with or without him, that Ubisoft is interested in continuing the Rayman IP, because here just recently, and this has been within like maybe the past month, this was like a pretty recent development. That's not why we're playing Rayman. I've been meaning to for a while, but it just sort of worked out that, you know, Rayman has kind of been a little bit relevant in the news again as of late. So hopefully that means that, you know, it'll, maybe we'll get some views on this. I don't know. Probably not, because Rayman, you know, even when it is getting a new game, is still kind of niche. I don't know if any Rayman game sold any better than like 1 million, maybe 2 million units. I gotta think Rayman Legends has to have done pretty well by now, because Ubisoft has released it on so many different platforms over the years. Like this was first it was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive. So like I've got this little I guess frog fairy dude, whatever his deal is, named Murphy, and I can control him to like tilt these platforms and stuff. And it's kind of weird if you're playing this on any console other than the Wii U. It's like, why is this a thing? It feels kind of shoehorned in. Like, why are we controlling this character who half the time is just kind of AI controlled, just doing whatever we need him to, and other times we're controlling him? It's kind of some weird multitasking you have to get used to. But this game was originally made with the Wii U gamepad in mind, so you would have, you know, this is a co-op game, kind of like you know, New Super Mario Brothers or something like that, New Super Mario Brothers Wii. That's meant to be played. You can play it by yourself, and I think it's a great game whether you're playing it alone or with other people. Playing it single player I don't think really hampers the experience any. It's still just as good. Yeah, the original intent was you would have one person on the gamepad who, using the stylus, would move around this little frog character Murphy here, almost kind of like an in-game, kind of like a, you know, cursor, but like an actual character who you were kind of moving around like a cursor to kind of aid you throughout the game. And you know, that was there in the Wii. Like this guy, we have to mash A to tickle him, and then that leaves him vulnerable to where we can attack him. In the original game, you'd have to rub on him with with the stylus, which sounds a little sexual when I say it out loud. You gotta stroke him real good. But we beat the first level. But yeah, that was scrapped in all other versions of the game. There was actually kind of some controversy when this game first came out, because it was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive as a part of Nintendo's initiative to get third parties on board with the Wii U. Like they had this big push, and like Ubisoft made this commitment. Ubisoft, however you want to pronounce the name of the company. I always said Ubisoft, but then I started hearing people say Ubisoft, so now I've been changing it to Ubisoft. But then I've started hearing more people say Ubisoft again, so it's like, well, I had to recommit myself to a new way of saying it for nothing. But anyway, I've gone through, I'm like Trump doing the weave. I've gone to so many different things here. I'm forgetting what my original point was. But yeah, so Ubisoft, whatever. They were making Rayman Legends. It was supposed to be exclusive for the Wii U. I remember before the Wii U even came out, because it came out in like late 2012. Rayman Legends, I guess, was supposed to be like a launch title or a launch window title. It was supposed to come out, I think, at the end of 2012. So right at launch or shortly after the launch of the Wii U. And it was going to be an exclusive. But I guess maybe because the initial Wii U sales weren't so hot, Ubisoft decided to more or less jump ship, and they were kind of like, okay, well, at the last minute, like right before the game was supposed to release, was just kind of like, you know what, we're going to delay this by an entire year. That way we can release it, have a multi-platform release. So we're going to delay it so we can work on making ports of this game for other platforms. So Nintendo fans felt like they'd been done pretty dirty over that, and I get it. In retrospect, though, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. In retrospect, though, it's kind of hard to blame Ubisoft, you know, because the Wii U was a sinking ship, so I don't blame them for jumping course on that. I think in some ways we should just be glad that they still committed to releasing the game on Wii U at all. I mean, like, the game was done at that point, so like, why wouldn't you? But I don't know. It probably wasn't a very big sales success on the Wii U, so I don't really blame Ubisoft. Now, granted, they could have just gone ahead since the game was done, and it was like scheduled to release like almost imminently. I guess they had done all but, you know, ship it out to retailers. You know, it would have been nice. Like, I feel like they could have just thrown Wii U fans a bone and just went ahead and committed to at least letting it have early exclusivity, because like it came out almost like a year, almost day and date of when it was originally, like after it was originally scheduled to come to Wii U. So like if the game's done, why not just like let, you know, and that would kind of be a show of goodwill to Nintendo and not just completely ruin any future collaborations of just like, you know, well, we're still going to have the game exclusive to the Wii U for a year because it's going to take us a while to port it to other consoles anyway. But they didn't do that. They were just like, no, we're not releasing this game until, and like they did do, there was this, I remember there was this Rayman Legends like daily challenges app where you could compete with people online, and that is a mode that made it into the full game. But I remember before the game released, like I would play that like religiously, like every day. There was like one day I stayed the night at my grandmother's house, so I missed one of the days. But I did the daily challenges like every day for like months leading up to the game coming out. Like I was obsessed with it. But yeah, I'd never played a Rayman game before, really. There was a demo. I remember when the 3DS first came out, I would download pretty much every demo of every game that came out on the eShop, because, you know, the first year or so of the 3DS's life, there wasn't that much to play. And so I was always curious anytime a game got a free demo, it was kind of a treat. Because that was really pretty much the first time Nintendo really dabbled in having demos. Was on the 3DS, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you could get that on like the Wii. But you know, back then, like on the Wii and on the like the DSi, you know, those both had like online digital stores. But I don't think you could get demos. But back then, like we had like wired internet, like we didn't have Wi-Fi, so I wasn't really, you know, didn't really have a way to access those digital storefronts. There might have been a way to with our wired internet, but if we did, I didn't know how, and my parents sure didn't know. But yeah, so they had a demo of Rayman Origins, and I remember playing that and thinking it was okay. I didn't really, you know, have super strong memories of it. I remember getting stuck at one part for some reason, but more or less, you know, my first exposure to Rayman was, you know, the challenges app for this game before it released, which was kind of Nintendo, or you know, Ubisoft's consolation prize to Nintendo fans for, you know, going against their initial plans and delaying the game by a year. And then before that, like before the Wii U even came out, and you could play the Rayman Legends demo in store shelves. I remember playing it at GameStop and just thinking it was great. I had a great time with that demo. So when the game came out, I wanted it really badly. I asked for it for Christmas that year, and I got it, and I just had a great time with it. Now that I'm thinking about it, man, this is a nostalgic blast. That was a really great Christmas, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, for Christmas that year, that also I got Rayman Legends, which is, again, this is like one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. I think I also got that year, because that was the year that, you know, that November, it's like the month before Christmas, Zelda, A Link Between Worlds came out. I want to say I got that for Christmas too. That's like my third favorite Zelda game. And then I think I also got Kid Icarus Uprising, which is like my favorite 3DS game. So it was like a triple whammy. I don't remember what all else I got, but from what I remember, that was a freaking good Christmas. That's taking me back though. But yeah, I got this game for Christmas, and I loved it. I think it might have been the first game I played for Christmas, because I played the demo, and I played that challenges app, and I really enjoyed it. We're in the Enchanted Forest. But yeah, so I fell in love with the game immediately. We're like 13 minutes into the video, and I've talked about all kinds of stuff. I've really not even talked about the game itself that much, really. I've talked about, you know, I like the fart mushrooms, that's kind of funny. I've talked about how it was, you know, supposed to be Wii exclusive and all that. I've talked about Davide Soliani and him wanting to revive the Rayman franchise, and how there's not been one in 13 years. But I've really not talked about yet why I love this game so much. And a big reason, and, you know, hopefully YouTube's compression and everything will do it justice, but a big reason I love this game so much is, okay, I messed that up, is the visuals. I think this is one of the, you know, this game's 11 years old. It was on the Wii U. It was made from the ground up for the Wii U. It got ported to other systems, but, you know, by all intents and purposes, this is a Wii U game, however you play it, which was not a very powerful console. But I just think this game is beautiful. What they did, these backgrounds with the UB art, or Ubi art, however you say it, game engine, where I think, from my understanding of the way it works, they more or less just kind of like drew out like everything, like the environments, you know, all of the objects and the platforms and everything, more or less like I think drew it out and like, you know, colored it with like, you know, like painted it and everything on like paper, and then some way we're able to take scans of those drawings and render them into the game. I might not be explaining that 100% accurately because I'm not like a big tech guy who understands all the workings, all the goings on behind video game development and animation and all that stuff. But yeah, as I understand it, they more or less, with this this game engine that Ubisoft pioneered, were able to yeah, just like draw this stuff out like physically, like on tactile, you know, paper, not with like a computer, not like do it digitally, but then like retroactively go in and make digital scans of that art that they drew just on like paper. And I think the end result is fantastic. You know, the only game that I think compares to this in terms of just these gorgeous hand-drawn visuals, and that's probably because it also uses a very similar technique where everything is also, it's like painted on paper and then they scan it into the game, and that is Cuphead, which I've played on this channel. Watch that playthrough if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it, considering Cuphead at one time used to be really popular on YouTube, which that's years ago. I guess maybe I was just too late on the boat, since I only really started this channel like this year. But those are some of my worst performing videos. They've got, like, at the time of recording, like maybe 4 or 5 views at most on each of them. So I really would appreciate you know, if you want to check out all the stuff I got on the channel, but particularly Cuphead, because I love Cuphead so much, and it's so sad to me that like nobody's watched those. You know, if you haven't watched something more niche like God, I don't know, someday I'll probably play Ty the Tasmanian Tiger on this channel. If you don't watch that, I understand. You know, that game, even when it came out, most people would argue is maybe a little, I don't want to say mediocre, but a little average, you know. Doesn't really do anything to set the world on fire. So when I play that game, if not a lot of people watch it, that's fine. I understand that's kind of a niche thing. Not everybody grew up with it. But Cuphead is so good, and it deserves all the recognition it gets. And so yeah, watch the Cuphead playthrough if you watch nothing else. If that's your only takeaway from this video, is to watch the Cuphead playthrough. Or don't even watch my video. Just look up Cuphead and just like play it, or watch somebody else play it if you've not seen a playthrough of it, because it's one of those games. I don't really necessarily like a lot of games that are trendy, not because they're trendy, just for whatever reason they don't appeal to me. Like, say, Minecraft, I never got that into. Fortnite can be fun, but it kind of has a limited appeal, I think, where you're always playing the same map, and I know they change it around every season, but like it gets kind of repetitive after a while to me. Overwatch I never got into. I'm not super into like really competitive team-based shooters. You know, could be fun if I had a squad to play it with, but I don't. And then I never really got into Undertale, just not really for me. The music in Undertale is fantastic. Props to Toby Fox for that. But Cuphead is one of the few, you know, games that were really trendy, where it's like every streamer on Twitch and YouTube and whatever is playing this game. You got your PewDiePies and your Markipliers and all these other content creators that I personally don't care about. You Jacksepticeyes all playing it and raging over how difficult the bosses are. And, you know, the boss fights are a lot of fun. I enjoy how challenging they are. But the real reason I love the game is because of the art style. I am a huge 2D animation buff. I love cartoons. I'm probably going to talk about cartoons at some point on this channel. I'll probably have videos dedicated to cartoons. The best you got right now is my SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom playthrough, which is, you know, kind of loosely related. It's a video game, but it's a video game based on a cartoon franchise. But we unlock Barbara here. We might switch over to Barbara just to mix things up. I kind of like Barbara's design. She's got her missing tooth. I kind of like this trope in media of crazy redhead girls with a gap in their teeth. And that sounds very specific. And even with a green shirt that's like a two-piece, you got her. You also got Lindsay from Total Drama Island. I don't know if I would have said as a kid that she was my favorite character or not, but looking back, Lindsay, probably the best Total Drama Island character. the crazy, like, weird redheaded girl with like the gap in her teeth, and she's like insane. Or not. What did I say her name? I think her name was Izzy. Izzy or Lizzie, something like that. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch Total Drama Island again because I don't remember. Izzy, I think, Izzy. I think that's what her name was. But yeah, she was the best character. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. But the real main thing I love about Cuphead is the art style, and that holds true for this game as well. Whereas Cuphead tries to go for more of a more of a 1930s rubber hose style art direction. This game, I feel like, goes for almost a late 90s, early 2000s 2D animated Disney or Pixar movie. You know, I look at this, like, to me, that's when animated movies were at their best. You know, you had Disney releasing, like, Hunchback of Notre Dame. That was a banger. That's like, oh shoot. That's like a top 10 animated, maybe probably top 5, maybe, honestly, it might actually be my second favorite animated movie, Hunchback of Notre Dame. I really like that one. They tackle a lot of mature themes in that about, you know, I'm a very religious person. I would consider myself a, well, I want to say a devout Christian, but I don't know if I can call myself devout because I feel like I fall short in a lot of ways. But my faith is very important to me. But it's a Disney movie, especially then. Like, I don't know, you know, how it is kind of surprising. Like, nowadays I can see it. But back then, you know, a movie that was willing to, you know, kind of call out a lot of, you know, religious hypocrisies and, like, you know, abuse that can happen in churches, you know, people who partake in that, like, you know, the main villain, Frollo, obviously, you know, aren't, they don't really embody the teachings of Christ and unfortunately give a lot of us believers a bad name. But you know, it is such a good movie. I really love it. But then you also had my favorite animated movie of all time. The only animated movie that I can think of right now, there might be more if I really think about it, but that I love more than Hunchback of Notre Dame is The Prince of Egypt. What a phenomenal movie. DreamWorks' Prince of Egypt from like 2000 or maybe like 1998, something like that. Whenever that movie came out, it was pretty much Pixar's like debut film. Oh gosh, can I get back? I don't know if I can get back. Where's this going to spawn me? Okay, good. This game gives you very frequent checkpoints, so you normally don't lose a whole lot of progress, which is very, very nice. I'm probably going to play this episode, well, in the video, once I finish like everything in this first world of the game. First world problems, which might be kind of long. Each episode might be around an hour, maybe a little bit longer, I don't know, because these worlds are pretty long. This game has, I feel like, a lot of content, especially if, like me, you played this game without playing through Rayman Origins. I can understand why this game might have been disappointing to you when it came out if you'd already played Rayman Origins, because this game's basically 2 games in one. It's got 10 worlds, so that's like, each world's got maybe like around 10 levels, so that's like 100 or more levels worth of content, which is a lot, considering these are fairly lengthy levels. Shoot, I wanted to get those lums up there. These little fairy things we're collecting, which are kind of like the, they kind of remind you of like the fairies from Zelda or something like Navi. Hey, look, listen, let's kill ourselves here. And start this over so we can get all of those. You want to 100% this game at the end of each level. To get like a gold trophy, you want to have collected, for most levels, it's you want to get at least 600 of these lums. But for shorter levels, you might only need to get like 300 or something like that, so it's good to get when there's like a lot of them in cages like that. Also, you'll notice that some of them turn purple, so you want to collect them in a certain order, like kind of in a chronological order. With the one in the front of the line will be purple, and if you get a purple one, that's worth 2. And once you get it, then the next one in line will turn purple. So to get like twice as many, to get double the lums, you want to make sure that you collect them in a certain order and not just, you know, any way you want to, which is kind of an interesting mechanic. Sometimes it can get a little frustrating because it's like, oh, I grabbed the middle one, and so now I'm not going to get the extra point. Also, killing enemies will give you some lums like that. That's frustrating, but we should be fine. I think we'll still make it to 600. So we're just going to keep going with it. This is going to be more or less a 100% playthrough. We're not going to fully be able to 100% this game because, so like I said, the Wii U version had some stuff where you would have to play on the gamepad, like on the touch screen, while if you were playing multiplayer, other people would play on the TV. If you were playing it by yourself, those levels were kind of painful because the character on the you'd be controlling Murphy, that little frog guy there, but you would be relegated to just controlling them while, like say Barbara here, or if I was playing as Rayman, would be relegated to an AI character, and the AI is not that great, so that can be kind of annoying. But they sort of retain that for the Switch version of the game, because we're playing this on Switch. So they added like a whole mode, I think it's maybe called just like Murphy's Touch or something like that, which is kind of a little sensual when you think about it. Probably intentionally. Rayman can be a little raunchy sometimes. It's not a joke. These games can be kind of a little bit naughty. Anybody seen that Courage the Cowardly Dog episode? Naughty. Again, speaking of peak animation from the late 90s, early 2000s. But, yeah, I'm going all over the place with this conversation. I got so much to say, I'm like losing track of one thing and going back to another. Because I was talking about Prince of Egypt. Yeah, that, like, I don't think you even, like I said, I'm a Christian. I don't think you have to even be religious to appreciate that movie. Like, that is such an emotional, intense movie that really tugs at the heartstrings. And, I'd really strongly encourage anybody to watch that, whether you are a person of faith. If you're an atheist, I think you still have a lot that you can appreciate about that movie. It's just a good movie. But one thing I like about this game, we're opening up some new worlds. So, like, you don't have to necessarily... We're still in the first world, and so for this, we're going to go, I think, in chronological order. But if I wanted to, I could just jump straight into doing a level in World 3 or World 4. Like, this game's got 5 regular worlds, and we're, about to open up the 5th one. So, like, you can go ahead and, like, take on the final boss, like, within the first hour or so of the game if you want to go out of order. But there's so much to collect. We've got 43 of these teensies rescued. So there's these little guys, these blue guys in cages. There's 826 in total. So this is a meaty game. But one thing I was saying earlier, and I think I might have got a little sidetracked there, but Rayman Origins is the Rayman game that came before this. And this game, it's got 5 worlds that are new to this game, like Rayman Legends worlds, and then it's also got 5 worlds, I believe, maybe more than that actually, I don't know, that are from the previous game, Rayman Origins. So it's essentially 2 games in one. So I absolutely loved this game as someone who had never played Rayman Origins, really, except for that 3DS demo, which I'd hardly even remembered. It was like a brand new experience. Oh, we got a honker. We've got a guy honking her nose. So we gotta stop these weird little teensy wizard guys who I guess are evil for some reason. This is kind of a chase level, so we gotta be kind of quick. Gotta be quick about it. But, yeah, so having never played that, like, it just felt like a huge amount of content. It's like, so you mean to tell me we got, like, 10 whole worlds to explore. I'm playing like 2 games in one. So that's where, if you played Rayman Origins before this game, I can understand why Rayman Legends would be kind of a disappointment to you. But as someone who didn't, this just felt like just the quintessential 2D platformer with like so much content and just such a good variety in the... oh, we're dead. Some DeviantArt inflation fetishists probably really like this game, because whenever you die, your character just blows up like a balloon and pops, for whatever sick reason. I don't know what fantasy was going through their heads. This game was made in France, and I think Ubisoft as a company is based in France, and you know what perverts those French people are. That's right, we're making offensive cultural stereotypes on this channel. See, I'm white, and they're a white ethnic group, so I can make fun of other white groups, right? I can't get canceled for that. I can make fun of Russians. I can make fun of you know, of the English, of British people. Their stupid beans and toast. I can make fun of Canadians. Freaking lumberjack, maple syrup eating sons of guns. I think, is there a secret thing? No, there's not. Oh, I'm gonna die. But anyway. Everything's moving fast, so I gotta try to like think here. But I don't want to lose what I was talking about. But bear with me for just a second. I like how this level has like kind of like a chanting chorus of men just kind of going like oh, like at different points you can hear. It sounds very similar on this channel. Like we very recently, within the past couple of weeks, finished a playthrough of Super Mario Galaxy. And when you're fighting Bowser, you've got him like flipped upside down on his shell and stuff. Like the Bowser battle music, you know, it adds a layer of you know, like a male choir into the song, like with a just a chorus of very deep, I guess, like soprano or whatever, male voices. And I swear it sounds like identical to the male voices in this game in Mario Galaxy. So I don't know if they hired like the exact same like chorus of men, but like it wouldn't surprise me, because honestly, like it's indistinguishable to me. Like I can't really tell a difference in the deep masculine voices doing the acapella or whatever in this game compared to Mario Galaxy. So I don't know. If I paid attention to the credits of both games, I might be able to figure that out, but until proven otherwise, I'm just going to believe that it's the same exact music. But either way, it sounds really, really good, though. This game does have some good music. A lot of it, though, like it's all kind of like orchestrated. A lot of it sounds very derivative. I don't know if it's intentional by design, but it's like they're parodying music from like the public domain. So not really this one, but like as we go on, there's a track in this game that sounds almost just like Harry Potter's main theme. It's got a part that does like a da 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 da. Like it sounds just like the Harry Potter theme song. And there's a few different tracks like that in this game where it's like you know, I wouldn't say it's plagiarism, but it feels like they are deliberately trying to imitate those, maybe. But I don't know. Just like very strong motifs that allude to those songs. I don't know, but yeah, Rayman Legends is just such a good game. I love the way the animations look, because like it's very hard to pull off. I think there's a lot of games out there that have a 2D hand-drawn style like this that are supposed to look like you're playing a cartoon. But yeah, see how she surfs on her little axe that she attacks with. Yeah, her name's Barbara because she's a barbarian. Each time we beat a level, we get one of these scratch tickets. Scratch me, baby. Again, see, this game's got so many erotic undertones. So on the gamepad originally, you would like scratch it off with the you know, by rubbing your stylus on the system. But here we just kind of move around both analog sticks to move Murphy's arms here to scratch it off. But Teensy Ray, that's my favorite basketball player, old Teensy Ray, who also went on to make a delicious barbecue sauce. But anyway, you can stretch these off. You can get some more of these little lum guys. You can get there's like this weird, like, you can unlock these weird virtual pets, but you can't really do anything with them. Yeah, like here we unlocked one, a creature. You can just kind of look at them, and like each day, it's almost like something you see in a mobile game, where like each day you play the game, and you know, they'll give you a few like lums or something, you know, like you're like hatching them and you get something. This game doesn't have microtransactions or anything like that, but it feels like something where it's like, you know, pay $10 to speed up the incubation process and unlock whatever. But you also unlock these paintings, these Back to Origins paintings, so that's why we're scratching them, because the other rewards are kind of useless. But these let us play the levels, like all the levels from Rayman Legends. So you'll see me having to scratch off a lot of these stickers. Too bad they're not scratch and sniff. Oh yeah. But anyway, let's switch back to Rayman real quick. But yeah, what I was saying, like, I think it's really hard to. We can unlock some different like cosmetics for these characters. We got Sir Ray a lot, so we got a Rayman Knight. This will be a fun one when we unlock. I'll have to switch over to that one. We just need to have 9,000. So once we're over 9,000, 2007 YouTube dated internet meme references. We also got, like, I think Assassin's Creed. We got Prince of Persia. That's kind of neat. Ray of Persia. I don't know what some of these references are. We got like Splinter Cell, but yeah, it's just like all these different like Ubisoft properties and stuff. Funky Ray. I think they had some that's like maybe third party. I want to say like on each platform there was a different like exclusive third party or exclusive cosmetic you could get based off of a different game or franchise. But we're gonna unlock one here pretty shortly. That's pretty cool. Not just yet though. But for right now, we're just gonna switch back to regular Rayman, I think. But yeah, you get different costumes, different like variations on the character. It's kind of just the character in a different costume or with a different skin palette, but they treat it like it's a new character, like the one where it's like Rayman, but he's wearing medieval armor, but it's like, oh, that's not Rayman, that's Sir Ray a lot, but it's like, no, that's just Rayman. But yeah, a lot of games that go for this 2D hand-drawn art style really, I think, miss the mark for me, where if you're not careful, it can come across as feeling very cheap, like a mobile game made in like Adobe Flash. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's got like very stiff movement that feels like animatronic, like you used like the bone tool in you know, those programs like Adobe to manipulate like the limbs without actually redrawing them every frame, you know. But this game, I think, perfectly nails that style that I was talking about, where it looks like you're playing a, you know, like you're playing a movie from the, again, what I would call the golden age of 2D animation, right before everything turned all CG, which really kind of broke my heart that 2D animation more or less died. In the West, anyways. You know, Japan, they've got, you know, anime and stuff, which I've never really been a big anime guy myself. I can get behind a good Ghibli movie, and, you know, I have watched quite a bit of Dragon Ball. Not all of it, but I've seen most of Z. I didn't see the Buu Saga, but I saw, you know, the Vegeta arc, hence the over 9,000 reference, and the Frieza saga, the Cell saga, but that's kind of, and then like the Android saga, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I never really watched Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball. Some of it makes me feel a little bit weird, because I know that show is a lot more provocative. The original Dragon Ball is, and with those characters, obviously the age of consent stuff being different in Japan, put those two things together, and some of that show makes me feel a little weird. So I've not watched it in, well, I say in full, but I saw like the first episode, and that's kind of the extent of my experience with the original Dragon Ball. I've seen clips on YouTube that make me feel a little, you know, the Dragon Ball Z is a show I watched quite a bit with my dad, which this was on like when they showed it on Nickelodeon. And it was Dragon Ball Z Kai, so they cut out a lot of like the language and like if there were like sex jokes and stuff. But like my dad's like a you know, he's like a he's a pastor, you know, a very religious guy. So I would, you know, it was a show I really enjoyed watching with my dad. But the original Dragon Ball, that's one where it's like I don't think I would want to watch that with Dad. I don't I don't think he would like some of the jokes they make on there all too well. But oh yeah, I was like, what can we talking about Dragon Ball? Then I was like, oh yeah, I mentioned anime because I was talking about how 2D animation is kind of dead in the West. And I mean, you've still got like television keeping 2D animation alive, and you've got some really fantastic looking 2D animated series, you know. This would have been back in the 2000s, but of course Avatar: The Last Airbender, but then you got, you know, Legend of Korra that came out later by the same people who did the animation for Legend of Korra. There's this DreamWorks animated series on Netflix called Kipo, The Age of Wonder Beast, that looks beautiful. That show looks phenomenal. Netflix has a lot of really good original animated series. There's one called Hilda, which has a really good art style. Gravity Falls, I don't know if I already mentioned Gravity Falls, but then Hilda kind of almost looks like a combination of like Gravity Falls mixed with Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and the writing is very good in that show too. On the surface, it might seem like a show for like little kids, but it is such a, like, the finale of that show honestly made me like cry a little bit. It is a good show, and if I ever have kids someday, particularly a daughter, I am going to watch that show with her, whether she likes it or not. If she hates it, I'm going to make her sit down and watch that show with me, because it's such a wholesome show, and one that I want to, I think I want to bond with my future children over that, if I ever have kids someday, which I don't know, that's a lot of responsibility, but if I do. Hilda is just such a sweet, feel-good show. It's just so wholesome. So 2D animation isn't dead when it comes to television, you know, series or streaming, or like, you know, on like cable or satellite TV networks, like, you know, Disney Channel. They've got some, you know, I mentioned Gravity Falls, then you got like Star vs. the Forces of Evil was pretty good. A lot of people say it kind of fell off some, and I would say, like a lot of shows, maybe a little bit too much, I don't know. Just say there's some divisiveness in the media over them, some controversies, which, you know, you got with a lot of shows in today's culture war era or whatever, that might not make them for everybody. But you know, still a really good show, Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And then you got Netflix had this one 2D animated movie called Klaus, which was like a Santa Claus origin story. It had a character voiced by the late Norm Macdonald, who I actually talked about him in another video I just recorded earlier today, which was the finale of my Pac-Man World playthrough. So he was a comedian, very funny guy with a very abnormal sense of humor that, you know, it's kind of an acquired taste, but it will grow on you. Yeah, he did a character in that. But the animation in Klaus, it's 2D animated, but it looks CG. I don't know what they did, but the technique to make the 2D animation look so 3D, like the lighting and the shading effects are just unreal. Like, you would swear, like when I first saw it, I thought it was CG. I didn't really believe that it was a 2D animated movie. But when I realized that, like, it was just like mind-blowing. So, you know, but it's just a shame that in cinemas you don't see that anymore. Not in the West anyway. Again, you got like Ghibli and stuff like that, and they might get an English, like a limited English release or something. I don't even know if, like, if a new Ghibli movie comes out, I don't even think those are like widely distributed into like every theater necessarily. Just kind of one of those things where it's like a very limited release at like select theaters, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I feel like at least around where I live, you know, I've never seen a Ghibli movie in theaters unless it was like a, you know, they were having a showing of like a old one or something where you could like a marathon where you could come in and, like, you know, every day for a week. It's, you know, come and watch. One day we'll have, you know, Spirited Away, and then another day we'll have something else. I don't know, but like My Neighbor Totoro or something. But you know, yeah, in the West, outside of Japan, you don't really see a lot of 2D hand-drawn animated movies anymore. I think there's supposed to be one coming out. If it's not already come out, I don't know. If it has, then Warner Brothers sure did a poor job marketing it. But I think there's supposed to be a 2D It's like a new Looney Tunes cartoon about Bugs and Porky. I think it's called like The Day the Earth Blew Up or something like that, if Warner Brothers hasn't canceled it. Because I know there was a lot of controversy because there was supposed to be like I think it might have been like a Roadrunner or Wile E. Coyote movie or something that came out, and they like never released it even though it was already finished to get like a tax break or something, like a tax write-off. I don't know how all that works, but I guess they just thought the movie wouldn't be a financial success and they'd get more money back if they just wrote it off on their taxes instead of actually distributing it to people, which I think is just criminal. Oh, we might have to redo this one. Yeah, we were 4 lums short. So this is one of the shorter levels where we need to get at least 300. So we're going to have to jump back into this one real quick and get that real quick. But yeah, that's like the first 2D animated movie in the West that I can think of since like, I don't know. I mean, back in like 2009 or 10, you had like The Princess and the Frog, which I don't think did very good in the box office. And then around that same time, I think you had Tangled, which I guess, I want to say maybe blew it out of the water by comparison. And that was just kind of like the final nail in the coffin, which is just so sad. Princess and the Frog, I think, was a pretty good movie. I've heard some people complain about it for various reasons. And I'm not going to weigh too heavily into that because, like, you know, who am I to say? But, like, some people, you know, in the African-American community say, like, well, how come Disney makes, you know, whenever they make a movie starring a black protagonist, they have to be transformed into, like, an animal or something else for, like, half or 2/3 of the movie. So, I don't know. If you happen to be black, let me know what your thoughts are on that. Personally, I don't think it's like a deliberate, you know, attempt to, you know, limit the screen time of a black protagonist. But, like, you know, I mean, I'd be interested to hear what other people's perspective is on that. But I thought Princess and the Frog was a really solid movie. I will say I do like Tangled more. I thought the writing in Tangled was a little bit more solid. It was more emotional. Even though you actually have a character who dies in The Princess and the Frog, that one didn't tug at my heartstrings in the same way that Tangled did. Tangled was a fantastic movie, way better than Frozen. But, you know, Princess and the Frog... Ah, shoot. Okay. Princess and the Frog was still really, really solid, too, though. Wouldn't say it's, like, the best Disney movie ever, but, like, I'd give it, like, a, you know, at least an 8 out of 10. I think it's very underrated and, in some ways, maybe a little bit overhated. Yeah, that was kind of it for 2D animated. I think there might have been like maybe a Winnie the Pooh movie that came out, maybe 2010 or something like that. But like, you pretty much never for the past like decade and a half see hand-drawn, traditionally animated movies in theaters anymore because it's more expensive than CG, and I guess they feel like maybe there won't be as big of a turnout. They just decide it's not worth the financial investment. Did I get it that time? How many are those guys worth? Is it 30 or 25? If it's 30, we just got it. If it's 25, we just missed it. $2.95. Dag nabbit. Man, you gotta get like all of them in this one. I feel like I didn't miss any until like the very end there. I didn't get some of the purples. Okay, well, let's do this one more time here, and then we'll call it a day. Something I was going to say, I'm going to pretty much 100% this game. I don't know if I finished this point earlier. I don't remember. I've been like all over the place in this video, just going from one talking point to another. But we're not going to quite 100% it because there were some levels. Well, really, it's some of the levels that you already play through in the main game that you know, it'll ask you to go back through and do them again in the Switch version. But it's in handheld only because it replicates like the gamepad stuff where you're doing the touchscreen and like you know, I don't have a way to capture you know, gamepad footage with my capture card, and it's levels we've already seen anyway, so it'd be kind of boring. They're kind of frustrating because it's like AI controlled characters and you're kind of having to just shepherd them through the level, and it's really annoying. So I don't really like those levels anyways, particularly. even though they were like made specifically with the Wii U gamepad in mind, and like here where I'm having to like alternate moving Rayman and then, you know, pressing the A button to use this little guy to you know, get rid of hazards for me. Ah, shoot, I messed that up. You know, it still feels better doing this where I'm actually controlling the character than if Rayman was just an AI character, you know, and I was just having to move obstacles out of his way. That was like painful. So this game kind of makes you do it both ways. So yeah, like honestly, the version of this game, like if you play it on Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, or even on Switch, that you know, makes the touchscreen stuff that this game was designed around inessential, are kind of the definitive versions, because like it just ain't fun to do the touchscreen stuff because the AI is not great, and it's like I want to be playing the action. Why am I watching this character go through the level and making minimum inputs? If you're playing this game co-op, again, someone else could be Rayman, but not player one. Somebody's got to do the boring, tedious stuff of you know, cutting the ropes and killing the bad guys by tapping them. So we're not going to be doing those levels because I have no way to properly record them, and they're just not good. But yeah, this game, the way that they kind of did it, even though it was a little bit forced, a little bit shoehorned, where you're kind of controlling both, is infinitely better. Because these are really fun levels, and you want to actually play them and not just have this passive role where you're just kind of watching it. So we'll do everything except for those Murphy's Touch levels, which there's maybe like, I don't know if there's like around 10 of them, something like that maybe. But we're just going to completely bypass that. But now we're on the boss of this first world. This won't be the end of our episode here, because after you beat each boss, you unlock a musical level, where it's kind of like a rhythm-based thing. And a lot of the times it'll be like, I guess, copyrighted music that they got like the rights to use. So that's kind of funny to have in a game like Rayman where you wouldn't expect that. But yeah, I'm not going to spoil what music we're in for. Hopefully we won't get a copyright strike on this video because of the music. But yeah, after we beat this boss, we'll have a music level, and then we'll see if anything else opens up in this first world. There'll be like some excuse me, some time attack challenges we can do later. I don't know if any of those will open up. We will do them at some point if they don't open up for this first world after we beat it. But yeah, so we still got a little bit more to go here. This first boss is it's kind of weird that the bosses in this game are CG despite pretty much everything else being 2D. And kind of going to what I was talking about with animated movies, CG to me just doesn't look as good as hand-drawn. But now, I've talked about this before though. The animation industry has made some really, really positive strides when it comes toward 2D animation. You look at like DreamWorks in particular has really been going for a more stylistic approach instead of just making everything look more realistic. Because CG's gotten so realistic. Like you watch Toy Story 4 and you look at some of the backgrounds and how they've rendered each individual blade of grass, and you look at that and it's like, this looks photorealistic to the point where like you would have saved yourself a lot of time and money if this was just a you know, you had these CG characters in a 2D environment, like almost like you're watching The Amazing World of Gumball or something, where it's like, you know, these photorealistic backgrounds but with these cartoony characters, you know. Like I remember reading, I complained about this, I went on a tangent about this in probably when we were playing Cuphead, but reading how like the animators behind Toy Story 4 were bragging about how they created this computer algorithm with AI to where they were able to like automatically, it was like a spider program to simulate it was like virtual spiders that would go around and essentially like create their own webs, so the developers didn't have to meticulously create all of these cobwebs. The game, it just did it you know, algorithmically. But at that point, okay, shoot, we died there trying to save that person. But at that point, like, I feel like it's not art anymore. It's not a work of art, it's a work of math. You know, you programmed an algorithm to do this thing. It's like, where's the heart, the soul, and the passion behind it? You know, like, I don't care if it's a technical marvel. it doesn't speak to me from an artistic point of view. You know, it doesn't move me emotionally to where I feel like it makes for a better movie. You know, so I don't know, but yeah, like CG's gotten so photorealistic. I think, I think this game fortunately doesn't have any lives, and checkpoints are super generous, so you rarely have to repeat a whole lot. Like, we already took 2 hits on this boss. We only got to get 1 more hit and he's dead. And yeah, we're on that final hit. We don't have to like redo that whole thing getting up to this point. So some might say that makes it a little bit too easy, but I don't know. Especially when you're an adult, you appreciate when a game doesn't waste your time, when you've got like other obligations and things. Like I just recorded, you know, again, the finale of me playing Pac-Man World Repack, and the final boss, you die, and you know that boss has like 3 phases, and if you die, you have to start over from like the first phase. It goes on for so long of just like waiting while he does his attack patterns and waiting for his moment to strike. So I appreciate that this game does not waste your time. But yeah, look at how detailed everything is in the background. You got all this going on, just like multiple layers stacked on top of each other. It looks so good. But yeah, DreamWorks has really caught on to where just making realistic CG movies doesn't necessarily make them better. In some cases can make them look worse, because again, if it's so photorealistic, it's like, what's the point? Why not just make this live action? But like the Puss in Boots movie, you know, a lot of people really bragged on that just with the dynamic animation. Like the characters have a lot more squash and stretch, where it looks like traditional hand-drawn animation, where they're pushing boundaries in ways that I feel like 3D animation hadn't been, where it's more 3D animation up to this point I feel like has been more like stop motion, where it's like you manipulate the individual joints, kind of like what I was talking about with Flash animation, where, you know, to me the whole appeal of animation is that you're pushing the boundaries and you're doing stuff that you can't achieve with you know, real world limitations. And if you're not doing that, then it's like, what's the point of animation? You know, you got like the old cartoons, and like, you know, the classic example of a guy gets mad and his head turns into a whistle and he's got steam coming out of his ears, you know. But CG animated movies, I feel like only more recently are really starting to embrace that, where it's not just taking a character model and just moving the arms and limbs from the T pose or the A pose, but actually like doing stuff with it. It just looked really good. This is probably a controversial take. I know a lot of people didn't love the 3rd SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. That's the most gorgeous CG movie I think I've ever seen. They really made it look like the show and then some. Like, it looks beautiful. That whole movie is eye candy. The colors pop so much. The way they changed SpongeBob and Patrick's facial expressions and like purposefully going off model with it instead of sticking rigidly to that 3D model, it just looks so good. I really like that movie, primarily for the animation. It's beautiful. Then you've also got DreamWorks did a movie called The Bad Guys, which does something similar. Really dynamic animation in that movie that makes it look more like a 2D cartoon. So we're getting to a world where I don't necessarily mind as much that everything is CG, but I really appreciate, you know, when someone is willing to do 2D, but do 2D right. So again, it's very hard to do with video games. A lot of time it looks like a cheap Flash animation, but just like look at the background with all this smoke and flame, like all these just layers of detail. And like if you look really closely, I don't know how well it comes across with like YouTube's compression. Oh, this is our music level, by the way. I was talking about how there's music levels and it's playing Brown Betty, but it's it doesn't actually say the words. You just hear like, but yeah, it's the melody to Brown Betty, but it's in a 2D musical side-scrolling rhythm level in Rayman. So I'll shut up so you can hear it a little bit. Oh no, I missed the guy. We're gonna have to die and do that last part again. See, we're right where we died again. This game's very forgiving with your time. You don't have lives, so you don't have to worry about getting the game over. If you miss a collectible or something, it's like, oh, it's out of reach now, I can't get to it. A lot of other games you'd have to like redo the whole level. With this game, you can pause, you can restart the whole level. There's also an option to restart from the last sequence, so it'll take you back to the last checkpoint. Like if there's not an easy way to like kill yourself to go back to get that secret. So yeah, that's another thing I like about this game. It's just so meticulously polished to where it doesn't. What's the word I'm looking for? It just feels so user-friendly, I guess is the best way to describe it. So we beat the world, so we got 5 tickets to unlock. So I guess before we end the episode, we'll scratch them off real quick. But yeah, I think this game looks fantastic. It and Cuphead are like 2 of the most gorgeous games, well, are the 2 most gorgeous games I think that I've ever played. And in some ways, I would say that this game maybe looks better than Cuphead, because like Cuphead does a lot more with the animations. But at the same time, Cuphead, like, you wouldn't want it any other way. I appreciate it. But, you know, you've got kind of like how they replicate, like, the grainy old film, you know, with imperfections in the film and, like, little creases and stuff. So they nail it. You know, chef's kiss. They did a fantastic job with it. But, you know, to replicate the rubber hose animation style of the, like, 1930s, they did a phenomenal job. You couldn't ask for anything better. But, you know, in my opinion, like the stuff like Disney and DreamWorks were producing in the late 2000s is just the best looking 2D animation. So where this goes closer to that, I think I appreciate it a little. It appeals to me visually maybe a little bit more than Cuphead does, but Cuphead does what it does perfectly. Rayman Legends might be a little bit more imperfect, but, you know, art's subjective. It just goes for a style that I think appeals to me a little bit more. Even though the animations maybe aren't as fluid, you know, they can be a little bit stiff at times in this game. But on the whole, just the background, just the level of detail, just how vibrant the colors are, like, it just looks so good. Cuphead's colors can look a little washed out sometimes, but that's by design because, again, it's like the old 30s, you know, when everything was produced in Technicolor and they didn't have, you know, everything that we have today. So you wouldn't want it any other way, but that said, this style just appeals to me a little bit more than that, but they're both just amazing looking games. But this is Rayman Legends. We finished the first world, Tinty's in trouble. Next time we'll be taking on Toad's story. Speaking of Princess and the Frog, it's a very appropriate follow-up world, because you're like in the bayou and everything. We got Fiesta de los Muertos, 20,000 Lums Under the Sea, Olympus Maximus. So yeah, there's a lot more to look forward to with this game. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for joining me. A little over an hour on this episode. They're probably all going to be this long, maybe even longer, because these are long worlds. This is a meaty, for a 2D platformer, this is a meaty game with a lot of content, you know. But yeah, we are going to end it here. So thank you so very much for watching, and I hope you will join me for part 2 of this playthrough. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next time.